Thank you. I'm excited to be here today to tell you about our fast-setting composite splint. I'm going to start off by showing you a quick video that demonstrates how the splint is used. It comes in a small, compact package. Everything that you need to activate the splint and to set it is contained in that package. This is great for taking along on hikes in the backpack or taking to a sporting event. Initially, the splint is flexible and conformable. This makes it easy to shape to the injured limb, making it versatile for any injury. All you have to do to apply it is simply fasten the straps that are contained in the package. The straps can be moved to different locations if needed for a different injury or for a different arm or size. To activate the splint, all you do is simply pull the tab, and then 45 to 60 seconds later, the splint forms to a rigid construct. So it's initially flexible and then forms to a rigid construct. The fact that it's easy to shape and conform so easily to the injury makes it a great stabilization device. This is important to immobilize the injury to prevent any additional soft tissue damage during transport. So some of the highlights of the splint, the fact that it's fast setting, goes from that initial flexibility to the rigid in 45 to 60 seconds. It's easy to apply. You simply strap it on, pull the tab, and that activates it. You don't need any extra supplies, no water, no external power supply, no additional bandages, and no vacuum pumps. It's very soft padding is built in so that you don't have to worry about soft tissue damage from bony prominences. The fact that it's easy to custom fit is also a big deal. It's disposable. You don't have to worry about retrieving it, decontaminating it after use. It's reliable, works in all sorts of different weather conditions, and it's got superior strength. It outperforms all the other splints that are currently out in the market. So what else is out on the market? The EMS currently uses vacuum splints. It's basically a beanbag that has a bunch of styrofoam beans in it. You put this on, you strap it, and then you have to have a big vacuum pump to pull the air out. It's great at creating the stabilization because it conforms the injury, but it's large and bulky. And also, if you get a hole in it, it doesn't hold the vacuum, so it doesn't perform well. They also have cardboard splints, which is just like what it sounds. It's a piece of cardboard that wraps around the limb. It's difficult to get custom fit, and so it's limited in how well it can stabilize the injury because you can't get it to fit very well. Then there's also the SAM splint. This is often used sporting events. You've probably seen this, people take it on hikes and stuff like that. The one thing about this is that it doesn't provide very good stabilization because you have to shape it and form it, and if you don't get the right shape, it isn't very strong. So when we started out on this project, what we wanted to do was use composites in order to be able to develop a better splint. And we identified 3 different resin systems that were ideal for this. The first was an air cure resin system that we formulated in our lab, and it's activated when it's exposed to oxygen to take it from that initial flexibility to the rigid construct. Our second was a low viscosity injectable resin. The resin is kept separate from the reinforcement fabric, and then at the time of use, when you want to use it, you inject the resin, it wicks through the reinforcement and cures. And then finally, the one that we're kind of developed additionally further because it's more commercializable, it's closer to being ready for commercialization, is the light cure splint. The resin activates when it's exposed to light. And so inside the package, we have a system of lights. We've got the small battery pack, and then when you pull the tab, lights turn on and start curing the resin. So some of the testing that we did mechanical testing and biomechanical testing, looked at 4-point bend, and then torsional testing, cantilever bend. We also did this with in addition to testing our splints, we looked at the SAM splint and compared it. We're 2 times more stiff than the SAM splint and 4 times the maximum load. So we've outperformed the SAM splint in all the different mechanical and biomechanical testing. We also looked at thermal testing. When the splint cures, it's an exothermic reaction, so it produces heat. We wanted to make sure that it didn't get hot enough to be uncomfortable. It gets to be about body temperature, so it's just slightly warm, never hot or alarming. Where we're currently at, we filed for a utility patent that was back in October of 2014. So we're waiting to hear back on that. WSU is in the process of licensing the technology to a local company, Innovative Health Technologies. It's a collaboration between a couple of the inventors on the patent, as well as some entrepreneurs at Wichita State University. We've looked at some different markets. We've looked at EMS, sports medicine, clinical applications, and we think that the market that's most ready for our device is the adventure sports industry. People that are excited about technology, want to take it along on a hike in the backpack, or somebody that wants to take it to a sporting event. It's a pretty simple device, pretty simple to explain. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes?
Let's see, was the patent for the inventing the resin that responds to the oxygen in hard sets, or was it the pairing it with the splint that made it patentable?
It's pairing it with the splint.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Hi. What are the costs to make that splint?
So we have different sizes that we can make it all sorts of different sizes. So we started out with the smallest to be able to make it the most portable. And then we have a range. But for the mid-size, the one like this, materials are about $30.
And have you ever considered a military application? I mentioned that because the first company that I started at HereTech, one of our first paying pilots was with Walter Reed, and it was a great customer to have and a great stamp of approval. And to me, it's highly applicable to trauma and combat.
Right, and so that's actually where we started, was with the military. They currently use the SAM splint, and so it's easy to improve on the SAM splint. When we talked to them after we had developed it, proven it, their suggestion was to prove it in the civilian market. They want to see it out in the industry and proven in that way before it goes into the military.
Who's your contact or your point of entry?
It was the USAMRMC, I believe it's USA. So the United States Army Medical Research and Material Command.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, let's talk after.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes.
So I'm a primary care physician. I actually gave a lecture 10 days ago to the medical students on how to apply splints. I think it's a fantastic, as a primary care physician, if I'm going to be having a lot of these in my office, that would be my question of stocking those out. So I do think your market's going to be more EMS in the field, adventure sports, and not in a emergency department or a primary care office where you're applying splints. After you've had the x-rays, you know where the fracture is, you're going to need to stabilize for a significant period of time. So I do think that it's fascinating, it's wonderful. I do think you've got the right market, though, and not gearing towards physicians or physician offices.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought? Okay. Have you ever thought about bike helmets?
I'm sorry.
Bike helmets?
Bike helmets.
Yeah, and the or bike injuries, yeah, and also incorporating like cold ice, the cold, so the brain is protected if you can put it on the head.
Those are applications we have not yet thought of, but yeah, we'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Well, good.
So does having to have a battery cause you any issues? Like, can you take this on a plane or ship it, or?
They're pretty standard batteries. They're 9-volt batteries. So no, there's no problem with taking it on a plane. They are also removable, so that after it's been cured, you can take those off, so you're not carrying around the extra weight.
In the back?
In the back.
How does your cost compare to your competing products?
It's hard to beat a cardboard splint in cost. So, yeah, that's one of the challenges that we're facing. Yeah, especially in the EMS market. With the reusable splints and the cardboard splints, that's one of the challenges in the EMS. That's kind of why we're looking for somebody that's willing to pay a little bit more, like an adventure sports industry where people are interested in having the newer technology, a better performing splint.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.